Republic Act 3019, or the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, is a staple in the bar exam, frequently asked and relevant to both special penal laws under criminal law and the accountability of public officers under political law. In this video, we'll break down the key offenses under the law, discuss important principles, and walk through relevant jurisprudence penned by the 2025 Bar's chair, Justice Amy Lazaro Javier. Whether you're reviewing for the bar or simply want to understand how the law combats corruption in public service, this is for you. So, who is a public officer under this law? The law defines a public officer as including both elective and appointive officials receiving compensation from the government. It does not matter whether they are permanent or temporary, in the classified, unclassified, or exempt service, or whether their compensation is merely nominal. Now let's enumerate the corrupt practices of public officers punished under the law. To recall these quickly, use the mnemonic fraud prince. 1. Financial interest in transactions where the officer has official capacity. 2. Requesting or receiving gifts in relation to government contracts or transactions. 3. Accepting employment in private enterprises with pending official business. 4. Unqualified or illegal grant of licenses, permits, or privileges. 5. Divulging confidential information to unauthorized persons. 6. Persuading or influencing another public officer to violate rules or commit an offense. 7. Requesting or receiving gifts for issuing a license or permit. 8. Interest for personal gain in transactions requiring official approval. 9. Neglecting or refusing to act on matters for material benefit. 10. Causing undue injury through manifest partiality, evident bad faith, or gross negligence. And last, entering into contracts grossly disadvantageous to the government. Now, let's focus. Among the offenses enumerated, sections 3B and 3E are the most frequently encountered in bar exams and in actual cases. Let's begin with section 3E, as it is more commonly raised. Section 3E makes it unlawful to cause undue injury to any party, including the government, or to give any private party unwarranted benefits, advantage, or preference in the discharge of official functions through manifest partiality, evident bad faith, or gross inexcusable negligence. Here are some key principles to remember. 1. Manifest partiality is a clear, notorious, and plain inclination to favor one side. Mere relationship is not enough, and improper use of the relationship must be shown. 2. Evident bad faith refers to a state of mind motivated by self-interest, ill will, or ulterior motives. Good faith is a valid defense. 3. Gross inexcusable negligence is the absence of even slight care or a willful, conscious disregard of consequences. 4. The office is a constituent element, meaning the crime cannot exist without the office, and the act must be in relation to that office in a direct, not accidental manner. 5. A private person may be held liable if they conspire with a public officer. In corporate settings, the veil of corporate fiction can be pierced to hold individuals liable. 6. Damage to the government is not indispensable. The law is violated even if there is no such injury, as long as there is an unwarranted benefit given. And 7. A violation of Section 3E is distinct from malversation, and prosecution under one is not a bar to prosecution under the other. The same act can give rise to separate offenses without violating the rule on double jeopardy. Now for Section 3B. This provision penalizes directly or indirectly requesting or receiving any gift, present, share, percentage, or benefit for oneself or another, in connection with any government contract or transaction where the public officer has to intervene in their official capacity. Here are some points to remember. 1. Mere receipt of a gift, even without a request, is punishable. Likewise, mere request, even without actual receipt, is enough. 2. The value of the gift is immaterial. What is punished is the act of requesting or receiving, regardless of the amount. A variance in the amount of the gift alleged and proven will not result in the dismissal of the case. 3. Transaction means one with monetary consideration and must be specifically described in the complaint or information. Preliminary investigations are not considered a transaction under this section. 4. The fact of acceptance must be proven. The gift must be treated as property of the public officer. Mere physical receipt is insufficient without evidence of ownership or acceptance. 5. A violation of Section 3B is distinct from bribery. One is not a bar to the other. And 6. If the accused falsely claims influence over public officials, he may also be held liable for estafa. Now let's look at key doctrines from recent cases penned by Justice Amy Lazaro Javier. 1. A mistaken interpretation of the law without proof of dishonest intent does not constitute evident bad faith under Section 3E. In People v. Bacaltos, the accused mayor was acquitted despite receiving honorarium from PhilHealth. His mistaken belief that he was qualified was based on a reasonable interpretation of existing PhilHealth guidelines, which did not clearly define the qualifications. 2. Under Section 7, public officials must file a truthful and complete statement of assets, liabilities, and net worth. In Spouses Miraflores v. Ombudsman, failure to declare several assets, investments, and income sources, and misdeclaring loans were seen as bad faith. The omission supported a finding of probable cause. 3. Section 3E requires proof beyond reasonable doubt of manifest partiality, evident bad faith, or gross negligence, an actual undue injury or benefit backed by solid evidence. In Cabarrios v. People, the Commission on Audit report was found insufficient to prove that a local government board member released funds to fictitious beneficiaries. The audit was considered inconclusive as it occurred 2 years after the release of funds and relied on interviews rather than in-person visits. 4. Final decisions in RA 3019 cases involving officers below salary grade 27 are appealable only to the Sandiganbayan. In Hanob and Galian v. People, the Supreme Court ruled that the Court of Appeals had no jurisdiction over the appeal filed by the accused barangay captain and treasurer from their conviction by the regional trial court. The case was remanded to the Sandiganbayan following Section 4 of Presidential Decree 1606. 5. Economic justification does not excuse clear policy violations. In People v. Crisologo and Manlabi, the conviction of GOCC officers was affirmed. They sold aircraft parts below the required markup, causing 6.2 million pesos injury. This notwithstanding the officers' arguments about obsolescence of the parts and the need to generate revenue. 6. Reimbursement does not extinguish criminal liability. In Leonardo v. People, a mayor used government funds and municipal vehicles for the purchase of personal equipment. Despite reimbursement, he was convicted due to evident bad faith. 7. Good faith reliance on legal advice can negate criminal liability. In People v. Ramirez, the Bids and Awards Committee members accepted the contractor's amended environmental compliance certificate, relying on legal advice, deliberations conducted, and clauses in the invitation to bid. They were acquitted of graft charges. 8. Violations in the procurement process require intent and injury to be punishable. In People v. Marrero, local government officials were acquitted of graft charges in relation to the procurement of an ambulance. The court held that indicating the brand name in procurement documents, the revision of said documents, and discrepancies in the amount were reasonably explained as good faith efforts. Moreover, the ambulance was delivered complete with equipment and accessories, negating the claim of injury. 9. Administrative lapses or questionable decisions without proof of corrupt intent or harm do not amount to graft. In Locsin Jr. v. People, a college president was acquitted for including his children in the university's work program as no injury or dishonest intent was shown. Finally, let's wrap with a question from the 2022 bar exams. RA 3019 isn't just a law, it's a statement that public trust matters. Whether you're answering a bar question or serving the people, understanding anti-corruption laws helps shape a more accountable legal system. Keep reviewing smart, keep grounding your answers in jurisprudence, and remember, every concept you master brings you closer to the bar you've worked so hard for. See you in the next one.